Right? Thank you.
Japishtu. Short I. Yes, it is.
Wow.
Do you need cartos?
Yeah. Cartels, cartals, jajas. Who knows what cartal means?
I do. Palm of the hand.
What means what?
Palm of the hand.
Cartal? I thought it meant to make a towel. Cartal.
No. Cartal is the palm. Check it out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, in India it is.
Controversy already. Haven't even started class. Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Upiyachana Vallabha Girivardhari Upiyachana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Yashodanandana Bhaja Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Madhava Kunja Vihari Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Sita Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramhamsa Paribrajacharya. Ashtotera Siddha Sri Srimad His Divine Grace. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Pramsagao Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Go Pramanandi. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to Sri Guru and Guru. Vishnu Padaya. Svaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvise Shishinivari Paschachara Satani. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Jaya
Jaya
Aharat
Aharat
Bhuvaha
Bhuvaha
Bharam
Bharam
Tham
Tham
Tanum
Tanum
Vijaha
Vijaha
Jaha Kantakam
Kantakam
Kantakena
Kantakena
Eva
Eva
Dravyam
Rayam
Oh, do I am sorry. Cha
Cha
Api
Api
Ishitu
Ishitu
Samam
Samam
Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam
Yaya
Harad Bhuvo Bharam Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja
Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja
Kantakam Kantake Neva
Kantakam Kantakeneva
Dhyam Chapi Shitu Samam
Dvayam Chapi Shitu Samam
Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam
Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam
Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja
Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja
Kantakam Kantake Neva
Kantakam Kantakeneva
Dhyam Chapi Shitu Samam
Dvayam Chapi Shitu Samam
Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam
Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam
Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja
Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja
Kantakam Kantake Neva
Kantakam Kantakeneva
Dhyam Chapi Shitu Samam
Dvayam Chapi Shitu Samam
Yaya Harat Bhuvo Bharam
Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam
Tam Tanum Vijahavajaha
Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja
Kantakam Kantakeneva
Kantakam Kantakeneva
Vayam Chapi Shitu Samam
Dvayam Chapi Shitu Samam
Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam
Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam
Tam Tanum Vijaha
Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja
Kantakam Kantakeneva
Kantakam Kantakeneva
Dvayam Chapi Shitu Samam
Dvayam Chapi Shitu Samam
Yaya Harat Bhuvo Bharam
Yaya Harad Bhuvo Bharam
Tam Tanum Vijahavajaha
Tam Tanum Vijaha Vaja
Kantakam Kantakeneva
Kantakam Kantakeneva
Vayam Chapi Shitu Samam
Dvayam Chapi Shitu Samam
Ladies? No? I want to give it a try. So weird names. Yaya that by which
that by which
Aharat
Aharat
took away
took away
Bhuvaha
Bhuvaha
of the world
of the world,
Bharam
Bharam
burden
burden,
Tam
Tam
that
that
Tanum
Tanum
body
body.
Vijahal
Jahal
relinquished
relinquished,
Jaha
Jaha
the unborn
The unborn.
Kantakam
Kantakam
thorn
thorn,
Kantakena
Kantakena
by the thorn
by the thorn,
Eva
Eva
like that
like that,
Dravyam
Dvaryam
both
both,
Cha
Cha
also
also,
Api
Api
although
although,
Ishitu controlling
controlling,
Samam
Samam
equal
equal.
Translation The Supreme Unborn Lord Sri Krishna caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies, and thus he relieved the burden of the world. This action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn, though both are the same to the controller. So we can repeat, the Supreme Unborn Lord Sri Krishna
The Supreme Unborn Lord Sri Krishna
caused the members of the Yadu dynasty
caused the members of the Yadu dynasty
to relinquish their bodies,
to relinquish their bodies,
and thus he relieved the burden of the world.
and thus he relieved the burden of the world.
This action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn,
This action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn,
though both of them are the same to the controller.
though both of them are the same to the controller.
Srila Vishwanath purport, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests that the rishis like Shonaka and others who were hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami at Naimisharanya were not happy to hear about the Yadus dying in the madness of intoxication. To give them relief from this mental agony, Sutta Goswami assured them that the Lord caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies, by which they had to take away the burden of the world. The Lord and his eternal associates appeared on earth to help the administrative demigods in eradicating the burden of the world. He therefore called for some of the confidential demigods to appear in the Yadu dynasty and serve him in his great mission. After the mission was fulfilled, the demigods, by the will of the Lord, relinquished their corporal bodies by fighting amongst themselves in the madness of intoxication. The demigods are accustomed to drinking the soma rasa beverage, and therefore the drinking of wine and intoxication are not unknown to them. Sometimes they were put into trouble for indulging in intoxication. Once the sons of Kuvera fell in the wrath of Narada for being intoxicated, but afterwards they regained their original forms by the grace of Lord Sri Krishna. We shall find this story in the 10th canto. For the Supreme Lord, both the asuras and the demigods are equal. But the demigods are obedient to the Lord, whereas the asuras are not. Therefore, the example of picking out a thorn by another thorn is quite befitting. One thorn, which causes pinpricks on the leg of the Lord, is certainly disturbing to the Lord, and the other thorn, which takes out the disturbing elements, certainly gives service to the Lord. So although every living being is part and parcel of the Lord, still one who is a pinprick to the Lord is called an asura, and one who is a voluntary servitor of the Lord is called devata, or demigod. In the material world, the devatas and asuras are always contending. And the devatas are always saved from the hands of the asuras by the Lord. Both of them are under the control of the Lord. The world is full of two kinds of living beings, and the Lord's mission is to always protect the devatas and destroy the asuras whenever there is such a need in the world, and to do good to both of them. So, conclusion is, don't be an asura.
Why not? The Lord is doing good to the Surah.
Because he doesn't like it if you're an asura.
Um,
I mean, he might do good to you, but he doesn't like you.
good to like
I mean, he likes you, doesn't like you acting like an asura. Krishna doesn't hate anybody, so if someone's acting like an asura, it doesn't personally bother him. Like, you might be bothered by someone who's doing something obnoxious. But what is bothering to Krishna is that this person is loitering in the material world and not reawakening his Krishna consciousness. That bothers him. So it's not like Krishna's like us. He gets bothered by people doing stupid things. And he's, upset about it. No. He's only upset that the stupid things we're doing are blocking us from being Krishna conscious and going back to God. That's what bothers him. Because other than that, he's not affected by the material world. So he's affected very much by affection, right? Radharani controls him. So he's completely controlled by affection. But he's also affected when there's no affection. Because he wants the affection of all living beings. So he is Rasika. That means Rasika Shikara. That means his existence is to stimulate relationship. That's why he exists. And that's why he creates us. So here Krishna created all of us to have a relationship with him, and then we ran off. Where'd they go? I created them to have fun with them, and then they ran away to Pacific Beach to go have some fun. What happened? So Krishna created us as Prakriti. So he's Purusha, and he could enjoy us. And then we ran off. Now Krishna's lamenting. Why did they run off? He's not lamenting that we're doing so many stupid things. He's just lamenting that we're not serving him. That's it. So, if you're Devata, then Krishna is very happy. If you're Asura, then he's disappointed. Like your father, mother invests so much money in you to go to college, you get a degree, you get your master's, get your PhD, you're set up for life, and then you become a devotee. Something like that. I created you to be successful, to be a big man or a big woman in the world. I invested all my time and money, and then you become a devotee. It's kind of, you get the idea, right? So Krishna, he created us for rasa, for enjoyment. Then we ran off, did something else. He's not happy. And we're not happy, right? Didn't work for either of us, right? So, now, Krishna does, as we're seeing in this verse, he does things, and they're a little difficult to understand. Why would he kill off his family? Why would he arrange for his family to kill off one another? Doesn't make sense, does it? But he wanted to end their pastimes. You must be reading, right? They're becoming dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So it was time to end the Leela. So one thing we have to understand is that Krishna doesn't do anything with his devotees out of malice or hatred. That's never what, not impossible. It's impossible. And if there is anger, so-called, or if there is hatred, it's only to increase his love. I was in Mexico in September, and there was one devotee there, and her name was Ashanti. That was her birth-given name. And I said, well, we should call you Shanti. And one devotee said, no, Ashanti is the name of Radharani when she's upset with Krishna. Ashanti. So Radharani gets upset with Krishna. But that anger makes Krishna very happy. Or if Krishna becomes angry, sometimes Krishna will do something to anger Radharani, or he'll feign anger or disappointment or whatever, but it's only to increase relationship. But materially, he has no anger, so he's not hating us for running away. Some people think, well, why would God You know, after everything I've done, why would he have anything to do with me? Right? I'm just a lowly person hanging around the material world, and I never wanted anything to do with Krishna. He must be mad at me. He must be angry with me. Some people think like that, especially if they've been raised as Christians. God is a jealous God. So you've been, what to speak if you worship someone other than him, he really gets jealous. Whatever, it's going to strike you with lightning or something. But because Krishna says, Pitaham, I'm the father, does a father ever give up on the child? No. Father or mother, they always love the child. Pita. I'm the father, the grandfather, the mother. So he never gives up. Whatever you do, your mother and father, you got to be pretty bad if they reject you, right? You got to be really bad. I don't even think Osama bin Laden's mother rejected him, or Saddam Hussein. You have to be really bad. So Krishna, his nature is love, his nature is affection. So when we see Leelas like this, we have to understand that's what's behind what Krishna's doing, and with us it's also behind everything he's doing with us. And no one should ever think, I'm unworthy of God's love, because he can't not love you. It's not possible. He cannot love you. He may not like what you do, but he can't not love you. It's impossible, because that's his nature. So, one time, a devotee asked Prabhupada, why would Krishna care about me? Right? Why would he's got gopis and cowherd boys and mothers, and I'm just out here, messing around. So why would he care about me? So Prabhupada said, if you have a problem with your finger, and you go to the doctor, do you say, I have a little infection here? Can you cut it off as I have 9 others? Anybody say that? It's only one finger, right? It's got 9 more. What's the problem? No one says that. So Prabhupada said, Krishna's the same. He doesn't think, who cares for you? I have so many other living entities. We'll just write you off, hopeless case. No, he doesn't think like that. Mercy is always there. So then, because this is how Krishna operates, then we understand that whatever is going on in the life of the devotee, it's only a manifestation of Krishna's love to move him forward. You know that story? The construction, the head construction workers on the top floor and one of the workers on the bottom floor. And he wants to get his attention, so he yells, and he doesn't. The person, it's too noisy, he doesn't hear, so he throws a dollar bill down, thinking he'll look up, but he doesn't look up. He just picks up. He goes, "Oh, there's a dollar." Then he throws $10, and he doesn't look up. So then the foreman takes a rock and throws it, hits him in the helmet, and then he looks up. So why did you do that? I said, well, I couldn't get your attention. So the idea is, it might be a Christian story, but the idea is God gives you all kinds of things, he doesn't get your attention, but when he throws a stone in your head, then he gets your attention. So if you think, that's not very nice, he throws a stone in my head. Right? And then Bhagavatam says, whoa, Krishna really likes you. Harishe. He takes away your wealth or whatever he feels like taking away. That's not very nice. No. Whatever Krishna does is only out of affection, because that's his mode of operandus. That's how he operates. He doesn't operate out of envy or hatred or jealousy. Krishna just operates out of love. So if there's something going on in our life that's not perfect, we accept it, and Krishna is just showing his affection in that way to get our attention and move us forward. As I say many times, if the world were perfect, all the temples, mosques, and churches would go bankrupt. Nobody would attend. Right? They'd all be empty. They'd all be have for sale signs outside. Right? If everything were perfect, would anybody go to church? Temple? No need, right? So Krishna knows that. So he didn't make it perfect. I mean, he knew what he was doing, right? When he made the material world, didn't he? Wasn't an accident, was it? Well, we'll just make people die. Yeah, why not, It's easier than making them live, the overpopulation. Yeah. It wasn't like that. It wasn't an accident, it was all planned out. They'll get old, they'll have problems. So that's all Krishna's affection. Just like you see in the story of Ajamil, the Yamadudis came, and it was that death that changed him. The fact that he was about to die completely changed his life. If he wasn't going to die, he'd just keep going as, good old Ajamil, the dirty old lusty man, right? So it just kept going, right? Isn't it? I'll tell you a funny story. We say Maya is very strong, right? These guys can go their whole life, 85, and they're still, dirty old men. It's like, when does it end? So I was in Delhi once with my family, and we couldn't get a train. We were going to Mayapur. It was Christmas or New Year's. We couldn't get a train. So my daughter, I don't know how old she was, 5 or something, 8. She was bored crazy. My wife said, "Okay, I'll take you to a movie." So we walked over to the movie, and then I said, "All right, I'll come get you." And they wouldn't sell 2 tickets; they only sell 4 tickets. I said, "All right, I'll walk you in, and I'll stay for 10 minutes, and I'll leave." So I called the devotee because he was expecting me to come home. I said, "I'm just going to go in for 10 minutes, the company, then I'll come out." He said, "Never underestimate the power of Maya." He didn't think I was coming out in 10 minutes. And he was right. Once I got in there. So, never underestimate the power of Maya. The power of illusion. You can go unlimited lifetimes, right? Unlimited lifetimes running away from Krishna. And still not get it. Not get the point. So Krishna's got to do something so we get it, right? Throw a stone in our helmet. Do something, slap us around. But it's only because he loves us. Just like one time a devotee got chastised by Prabhupada. Heavy, very heavy. I mean, no one likes to get chastised. But this time, Prabhupada was very, very heavy. And this devotee was actually shaking. It was so heavy. And he wasn't being chastised. It was his godbrother being chastised. He was just in the room. And then he stayed, but the devotee was chastised, left, and then he said, "Prabhupada, what are we supposed to think when you're chastising us?" And so Prabhupada said that there's billions of people on this planet, and the spiritual master is taking his time to correct you. You should feel very fortunate. He's neglected everyone in the world, and he's just now talking to you, trying to correct you. So it's something like that. When Krishna wants us to come closer to him, he'll do something. And sometimes it's not so pleasant, but we should think, wow, Krishna, that was so nice of you. Give me a little slap because I was drifting astray. That's how a devotee sees it. That's it. Krishna only shows love and affection. Now, the same thing, the devotee, because he's representing Krishna, he only shows love and affection. So when Prabhupada's chastising, there's only love and affection. Prabhupada's neglecting, it's only love and affection. It's no different. It's all the same, because his heart is only to help. So it comes out with a smile, it comes out with a whip, we see it as the same thing. There's only love and affection. Sometimes we saw that Prabhupada would get upset with people because they were impersonalists. He'd get angry, chastise them. Why? Because he loved Krishna. That's why he got angry, because they were offending Krishna. Sometimes we saw, on a rare occasion, Prabhupada speaking or chanting, and he would choke up. He couldn't chant. One time he couldn't chant Jai Radha Madhava. He just couldn't do it because of his intense love. So that anger when he was chastising the Mayavadis and that choking up chanting Jai Radha Madhava is the same thing. Exactly the same thing. It's love for Krishna, just manifest differently. So some people were fortunate and they got chastised by Prabhupada. And one man got chastised and he just walked out. He got angry. And devotees met him like 20 years ago and he said, actually, your spiritual master was right. He acknowledged it. So Krishna's all about affection. Devotee's all about affection. Everything the devotee does is for the benefit of other people. At least it's supposed to be. And so our duty, our service is all about affection, affection, affection. Not hating anybody. Not being envious of anybody. But just trying to help people. That's Krishna consciousness. That's it. That's the, what do we say? How do we say it? That's the, you're trying to come to a standard, like the benchmark. What's the word I'm looking for? That's our calling as devotees. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, you should only desire the greatest good for your worst enemy. If that were a contract for the Bhakti program, I don't know if any of you'd be here. This is a qualification if you want to live in the temple, desiring the greatest good for your worst enemy. Well, I don't know if this movement's for me. I like the prasadam and everything, but it's getting pretty heavy here. I don't think I can handle this, right? But that's actually it. That's really what it means to be a devotee. No hatred, no envy, no jealousy, just giving the same thing Krishna gives. Because Krishna's not jealous, he's not envious. Right? Sisupal just blaspheming Krishna all the time. Right? Again and again and again. Krishna doesn't do anything. He's not upset. So similarly, we are supposed to be, as his representative, like him. Just like Krishna, the Mahaprabhu, and the whole disciplic succession, just giving. We're not out to smash people, defeat them, annihilate them, destroy them. We're out to love them. And that's what Prabhupada did. And that's why he was successful. Whatever he did, it was just about affection. That's it. That's all. So, if we do that, we'll be very successful. If we don't do that, we won't be successful, and we'll also be miserable. Yes? Think you'd be happy trying to smash people and defeat people and tell them what's wrong with them? No. You won't be happy. They won't be happy. There won't be any result. This is not Mahaprabhu's mood. You have Madhusudan Prabhu here and his wife Kanchambala.
Yes.
She told a story. She became a devotee like she was 17 or something. So early in the movement, nobody knew anything. So she made an altar and then she went out and put leaves and twigs or whatever, on the altar. Not the way you do an altar. And she told Prabhupada, or she sent a picture. Prabhupada said, oh, very nice. Your altar is very beautiful. You can ask her that story, something like that. And the point of the story was it was completely not the way an altar should be. But he saw that she was trying to be Krishna conscious. So he was very encouraging, very appreciative. He didn't say, that's not the way the altar's supposed to be. You don't put leaves on it. Leaves don't have any fragrance. What's wrong with you? You have a brain? It wasn't like that. See, that's not the mood of devotee. The mood is affection, encouragement, because that uplifts people. So that's what Krishna's doing here in this story. Through killing, he's showing love. Amazing, right? So, anyone have any questions, comments? Yes.
I have a question. So, the analogy of hitting the construction worker on the head with a stone, that makes perfect sense. Otherwise, he's not going to pay attention, and communication is not going to occur. All right, so there's so many miseries in this world, birth, old age, disease, and death, and they're meant to make us pay attention, try not to just enjoy. But now that, the whole thing makes perfect sense to me within the Hare Krishna movement. In other words, Krishna gives us some difficulty, we should welcome that, because that's an antidote to falling into the sense gratification mode. Right?
Yeah.
It makes it takes away the wealth of a devotee who is, trying, but he get attached. Okay, that makes perfect sense. But what about all these people who are suffering like crazy, but they're not even, they have no idea. In other words, there's no knowledge for them that this is a punishment from God or that this is meant to be. So it's just punishment. So how is that helping them move toward?
I would say, well, there's a couple answers. One answer is they come to the Hare Krishna temple, and the Krishna devotee says, you know how you suffer out in the world? Then he explains why. I go, oh, okay, yeah. That's one answer. Another answer is, it accumulates to a point where a person starts thinking, just like with all of us. Prabhupada gives the example, throw a stone at a dog and he comes back, and you throw a stone and he comes. It takes him a while to understand. So we could say it's going to take a while for those people before something registers. But I would also say, due to lack of piety, it's not registering. It's a karmic thing. Like, I have a sister who suffered much more than I have, but she didn't come to the same conclusion.
Even though you exposed her to the philosophy?
Yeah. She actually stayed over here in the temple one night, 30 years ago. 20, 30 years ago. She saw Prabhupada. She chanted japa. There's got to be more bhakti sukriti, So we engage people in devotional service. Do some service. Would you like to help us do this? So they're doing some bhakti sukriti that's building up. When it builds up enough, then it's going to start making sense, all of this. So one of our godbrothers, he said, karma is God's language. He speaks to you through karma. But you have to be able to understand that. What's he saying? But I do see it because I teach forgiveness to non-devotees, and we do exercises about what is your suffering teaching you. And they understand. See, we do an exercise. It's really, really interesting. Krishna inspired me. So at the end of the workshop, people have come in and say, I was hurt and I have this resentment. So at the end of the workshop, we say, well, you have your story, but imagine you were speaking to God. What would he say? What would his take on the whole thing be? So then they have to play the part of God. And they have to say, well, I put you in this situation because you needed to learn this and that. And they all get it. When put in that context. they get what God was trying to teach them because lessons come through suffering. So there are a lot of people who understand that. They may not come to the conclusion of surrendering completely to Krishna, but a lot of people are just on the point, well, yeah, there are lessons through suffering. It's just they haven't taken it to the conclusion. So but we have to say Krishna must know what he's doing. It just might take a few lifetimes. Like for myself, about the age of 17, I was pretty much finished with material life. But I didn't really meet the devotees till I was 19, so I just, messed around for a couple more years, waiting to find it. But why would a 17-year-old be finished? That's, the 80-year-olds aren't even finished, a lot of them. So, and my sister didn't get it. I got it at the age of 17. She's like 67. She hasn't got it yet, completely. So there's got to be more Agyata Sukriti, as far as I understand. Build it up, build it up, build it up, build it up, and then it'll make sense. This question was also, a similar question was asked to Bhaktisiddhanta, and he said, you've got a weak heart and you're not smart, basically. Your intelligence is weak and your heart is weak. So you don't get it. And I also think, at least by observing her life, her desire to enjoy is so strong. She does, it's like there's this philosophy that's very popular. When negative things happen to you, you have to learn. There's truth to it. You have to learn how to react positively. Okay, that's okay. But there are messages in the negativity, and they don't get the messages because they're always trying to be positive, be optimistic, be positive. That's how you'll succeed. Okay, that's true. But when one thing after another, after another, after another comes, and they just say, see on the bright side, they don't get the message. So it's an interesting dynamic, because half of what they're saying is true. Life throws a lemon at you, make lemonade. Okay, but life's throwing like lemons at you, 24/7. Maybe you should start to question: am I doing something wrong to get lemons thrown at me? Maybe there's karma. Maybe there's reaction. Maybe, why is the universe throwing lemons at me? Why did God? The why questions they don't ask. It's very interesting because I study this stuff and I see, this positive psychology. You need it to be successful, but it goes to such an extent that they overlook suffering and they don't come to the conclusion. And my take on it is just that the enjoying propensity is too strong. And unwillingness to surrender, because if you accept it, then it's like, God help me. And you kind of give up. Give up trying to enjoy. That's a big thing for people. Isn't it?
And you give it up, and then 2 weeks later, you may come back again.
Yeah.
You don't have another way to enjoy it.
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's like this. Everything you said is correct, but I have another view of it, and that is that it's like a spectrum. There are so many human beings on this planet who are very, very close to animal life. And there's no way, maybe it'll happen that they'll get a book, in the African BBT, they'll get a book. But the vast mass of them are just going to go through life more or less like animals. And there's all kinds of suffering in that life as well as in the animal life. And so they're just going to keep churning, and they're basically burning off karma, because in that, like animals just burn off. And you come up to a certain point. In the human evolution, even among human beings, where you're eligible to understand this element. In other words, if you get a book, it'll actually strike you. And so many people get books, but it doesn't strike them. It doesn't register. We're lucky if they put it on the shelf, and then maybe a later day, or their son or daughter or sister or something. So the idea is that if you just step back a minute and look at the longer perspective, is that these lessons are cumulative, and then at a certain point you understand all the suffering that I've undergone in all of these lifetimes, and this is part of our philosophy. This is all just to teach me now at this point not to keep the engine going. In other words, to try to stop this whole thing of trying to enjoy suffering, trying to enjoy suffering. And so therefore, you can't really say that there's no lesson there. It's a lesson that hasn't been learned, but that is cumulative and eventually will be learned. That's the
But there's also, now we have like 4 answers. There's one more. You watch other people suffer, and you learn from that.
Also, I wanted to close without clearing up the cartel business. So if you can just, I looked it up, and it's interesting.
Well, let me state my case first.
Go ahead.
It came from a musician. Kar means to do, and tal means beat. So to make a beat, kartal.
Yeah.
So kartal may also mean something else.
This is the dictionary. All right, I've been there. So kara is hand, and tal with a long A, as you pointed out, is a beat. So karatala, as you said, is one, a musical instrument which we're familiar with, or karatals. But they're named such because it's keeping a beat with your hands, as you said. But there's another word, karatala, short A. That's why it's short and long, we have to keep straight. So karatala is literally the palm of the hand, and that's the word I knew. Karatala.
Oh, okay.
Karatala. But interestingly enough, karatala also means clapping the hands, but not in beat. You know, it's like clapping, and you know what I mean? Not
Oh, really?
the beat.
Oh, applause.
Interesting. But karatala means literally to keep the beat with by clapping.
Karatala.
So it's more than there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Wow.
We have a question from Bhakti Mary.
Well, I just have a quick comment about the statement, or neglecting others. I was actually reading in the Nectar of Devotion, actually, that this is actually one of the ecstatic symptoms, neglecting others.
So being oblivious to the world.
Yeah. So I was reading that.
You have to control your ecstasy, Larry. So you can preach.
Very difficult.
You can have your ecstasy in private quarters, but in public, you have to control it. Anything else? I want to end with a little thought. People join religious movements for community. And a community of devotees who are showing affection is very attractive. Right? Because you don't see that even in families. You don't see a lot of affection. So if we're representing Krishna's affection, well, it becomes attractive. More attractive often than anything we can say. Just because of who we are, we're showing them affection. And not a lot of people get much affection. People nowadays aren't even getting affection from their parents all the time, right? So we're showing affection, it's attractive. It's good for us, and it's good for them. And we just have to understand preaching is not just words. Because words is only, they say, your communication is only 11% with words. But the rest of it is you. You communicate yourself. You are a message. You are a billboard. You walk around and you're communicating something. So we want to communicate affection, it'll attract people. If people come to the temple and everybody's fighting and criticizing, it doesn't work. You could say whatever you want. This is the movement of love. And the devotees you hear upstairs, as soon as you say love, why did you do that? Sound shooting down from the brahmacharya ashram. It's not going to work. But if they see it, then it works. They feel it, they want to be part of it. That's what everybody wants. So if we properly represent Mahaprabhu and Krishna's mood and Prabhupada's mood, it'll attract people. And that's what Prabhupada did. And that's why people surrendered, because he showed love and they wanted to reciprocate. Whenever you show love, people will always say, is there something I can do to help? Right? They'll always want to reciprocate. Or you can ask them, would you like to help? And they'll say yes, because you've given. In India, it's very interesting. I asked a devotee, how do you get these huge donations? Because he gets donations from very wealthy people. He said, it's simple, I don't ask. I just give. I just give. And I just give. And give. And give. And give. And one day they say, is there anything I can do? Yeah, by the way, we have this $60 million project in Mayapur if you'd like to help. So that's how you do it. Just give, 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 give. And they'll ask. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Radha Giri Hari ki jai, Go Premanandi Hari Hari.